Hello, Charlie TCG here. Welcome back. So looking ahead, series where I break down and analyze the meta, examine over Japan and how will it impact Taiwan. Today, we're talking about my favorite topic, is creativity being rewarded in the Destined Rivals format. We're looking at some under the radar, pretty interesting decks happening over Japan at that gym challenge sort of battle. See exactly what's their creative choices really rewarded. Plus, always looking at some top meta decks as well. See if any fun creative choices were there, which we can actually incorporate into our Destined Rivals, as we just had that legal just a few days ago. Plus, we've got the full set release of the black and white one. We're going to see exactly are there any impactful EX cards. I've got quite a few to talk about because I've missed quite a few weeks of looking ahead. So we've got hopefully going to take up quite a lot of that content as well. Plus, also, just want to say thank you so much on support on the last few videos. It's been absolutely amazing. Then apologies, some of the setup might be a little bit delayed on some videos coming up. But I just want to say thank you so much, especially on my top breakdowns for the Destined Rivals format. So, without further ado, let's actually look at the black and white set and see any impactful cards. So, of course, we're going to look at the EXs, and one of them, which I just missed out on the last one for a few weeks ago, is Jellicent EX. And this card here definitely is going to see a lot of play. That's Seeker's ability. All this Pokemon is in the active book. Opponent can't play any item cards or attack any Pokemon draw cards from their hand. Now, this I think is great. If you remember back in the day for the Trevenant, which kind of had that really scary sort of Forest Curse ability, shutting down any item cards from the active spot, especially like a hit and run deck, this has seen a lot of play. Now, the only caveat is it doesn't really have such a great attack. For a colorless and psychic energy, 80 damage, and for 2 additional energies attached for this one, 80 more damage. So 160 damage for 4 energies. It's definitely quite steep. You have to know we have the new triple acceleration energy, which gets discarded at the end. So you do have a way to actually manually attach this one. But I can see this in more of a God of War item lock style deck. I really think this will see a lot of play, especially because of the Frillish as well, which I mentioned just a bit later on. So I do think this might see a lot of play. Meloetta EX is a really interesting EX. It has 200 HP with that live Premier ability. This Pokemon can attack on your first turn going first. Very powerful straight away. And the attack, Echoing Voice, 30 damage. During your next turn, this Pokemon's Echoing Voice does 80 more damage. So effectively, as long as you attack this on your first turn, second turn doing 80 more damage, that's 110 damage. Pretty powerful. But one of the great sort of things about this one, not only does you one-hit KO Clefairs and Badoos and Ethan's Pikachu's if that's get playable, but it also can use the likes of TMs. So TM evolution decks become much stronger, especially with a Meloetta. So effectively, on your second turn of the game, instead of looking for a rare candy, you can manually evolve your Grimmsnarls, your Gardevoirs, your Dragapults, and any sort of Ethan evolution deck. Any deck which really relies on evolving, you can go over them much early on with Meloetta EX. And I think that is really powerful and super strong. I can see it more of a powerful TM style build instead of actually kind of like a donkey style deck, which effectively could still work with like the I've seen lots of people play around with the Magmortar as well as also Volcanium. We have Boufflant EX, which is a synergy blast from the past from the Boufflant, I believe back from the Legendary Treasures era, 220 HP basic. There's a lot of basic Pokemon giving a huge flashback to the Black and White era with that Boofer ability. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks and that Gold Breaker attack 100 and then 100 more if your opponent's active Pokemon is an EX for 3 colors energies. Now we have Crispin, we have all of this way to energy accelerate, including the likes of Glass Trumpet, so you can easily power up very quickly. But what makes it really fun is you can make a quad Boufflant deck and have the other Boufflants which reduces colors damage by 60, so effectively reducing the damage by 90, so effectively having 310 HP. Tracker Hero is capable on this one, 410 HP of a Boufflant, which is pretty good, especially as there's no real big fighting decks right now. So I can see this deck kind of seeing some sort of fun, especially the wall style deck, quite literally a Boufflant's really powerful warning engine. Now, Jellicent EX is pretty powerful with that Metal Sign ability. Once you return a search deck for up to 2 Metal Evolved Pokemon, reveal them, put them into your hand, shuffle your deck. This instantly gets the likes of Riverdale, but most importantly, Goldingo. So Goldingo finally has a very powerful sort of reliant of search. One of the ways of using a team evolution, you could potentially go with Genesect EX, kind of like guarantee you can get your Goldingos instead of relying on like a team evolution. You could go to maybe a Clefair or Badoos strategy for help your setup or disruption, and have Genesect to guarantee you can get your guys later on. And if you have 2 of these out here, well, effectively get both of your Goldingos. Now we have quite a lot of EXs to go through, and I'm sorry there's a lot of new cards, but I did miss a little bit of last week with the move, but I'm really excited to talk about this set. Now again, still more sort of basic Pokemon, but also some evolving one. Whimsicott EX is alright. Have the energy gift attack, search deck for up to 3 basic Pokemon, so basic energy cards, attach them to a Pokemon anywhere you like, shuffle your deck afterwards. Well, not too powerful, especially for good energy acceleration, where you are second turn. It's not really going to be too powerful. That Wonder Cotton for 1 energy, 50 times the amount of trainer cards your opponent reveals from their hand. Now we've seen this have some great success. Think of like the Bennett EX. Think about any sort of even revealing sort of card. Gives you that good sort of hand knowledge, but lots of people don't have this big sort of hand size. Now, effectively, you get a big one-hit KOs. The opponent needs to have 7 trainer cards in their hand. And we are in a stage where a lot of people do play a lot of trainer cards, so we could see some sort of synergy, especially through retreat and only one energy. But it is weak to fire, and we are seeing quite a lot of fire Pokemon, especially like Ethan Typhlosion, my new favorite deck. Now, Keldeo EX is one of the biggest disappointments, I think, for EXs from the set. Also, people, including myself, are really excited. We could see the return of the really powerful Russian retreat Keldeo, or the one which does a huge amount of damage output. But this one here is not too strong. It does 90 more damage if it goes from the bench to the active. So go call into the rush hour, rush thing, and that Sonic Edge for 1 water, 2 colors, 120, goes through anything. It's a good shred attack. So if we ever need this in Baxcalibur, this could be seen some play. But overall, this is really definitely a bulk style card. Extra Drill EX is another sort of EX as well. This for Piercing Drill, 60 damage, and the 60 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. If I already had any damage counters on this one, you can team up with T-Rocket Crobat or Monkey Dory Pings or Frostlass. So you have a way to actually put damage counters on. That's not too shame. But it's the 2 fighting energies, and fighting, as we know from Cynthia's Garchomp, is not really a good sort of energies right now. Acceleration. We have Rocky Cross for 200 damage. Don't imply resistance from the attack. We don't really see resistance anymore right now. I know fighting is only real resistance, but 200 damage for 3 fighting energies, if no real guarantee to easy and energy accelerate this one, I definitely think this is another bulk one. Now, Hydreigon EX is interesting. Obviously, we already know we have a great Hydreigon EX already, so we're just going to put in this little slot. It's that Greedy Eater ability, which I believe there was actually a Hydreigon EX which did have a very similar ability to this one. If your opponent's active basic Pokemon is knocked out, damage from this Pokemon's attack, take 1 more prize card. Another way to get more prize cards, especially with big basics. If you think about Megas, it's good to see some sort of play, especially in this one. But it has 5 energies, 3 darkness and 2 colors, 200 damage. Defend these Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn. This doesn't one-hit KO anything, and this is on a stage 2. If this did 220 or even 250, I could see this here a little bit of play, because the thing about like the Defiance Band or Maximum Bell, you can hit for 300 damage, you can get KO most things, take additional prize card. But that 200 for 5 energies, that just seems really, really steep. And the only thing is having the opponent can't retreat. I just think that's not too strong. Overall, the X's, there's some really powerful ones here, but these ones here are definitely more of the bulk bin. Now let's finish off. We've got quite a lot of new cards, sorry. We've got the Frillish, which has for 20 damage. Your opponent's Pokemon can't play any item cards. This already works great in the sort of the Jellicent sort of attack. It obviously does for 10 more damage, and Badu does for that 1 energy, which is pretty powerful. Seismitoad comes back with the round attack. Back in the cool day from this one, 70 times the amount of Pokemon which has the round attack. All the Seismitoad line does have rounds, so if you have all of them out in play. 70 times 6, that is a lot of damage this Seismitoad can do. Over 400 for 3 colors energies. I just mentioned triple acceleration energy. This could see some play. Charatuga is the return of Trasher Lance. Ancient Debris, 30 damage, times the amount of item cards in your opponent's discard pile. Now, I am for one excited and disappointed with this one. The first thing is, I think this is a great attack, and I really like how it has scaled up correctly in this sort of new format. I think 30 damage is much better than the likes of 10, 20 damage back in the day. For example, if you have 10 item cards in the opponent's discard pile, you're now doing 300 damage compared to the likes of the last time doing 200 damage. It's already a huge sort of increase as well. But there is a caveat. It's a fossil Pokemon, so it has to evolve from that Plume Fossil, and the only way how you can get out of this Plume Fossil is from the likes of searching over Arven, Petril, or actually drawing into it manually. You can't easily search for that one by Puffin or Artisan. So it's a stage 1, so it's that sort of caveat as well. Because also, we're in a format now not really reliant on item cards. When Trash Lance was so good, we had the likes of tool cards were items, and likes of Field Blowers in the format. So it's also Trainer's Mail, as well as also EX Feature, and Versus Seeker. So these are a guarantee of nearly 8 sort of item cards anyway. So you already got to do these huge amount of damage. Whereas right now, the main sort of item cards people are playing are the likes of, by the way, Puffin, Ultra Ball, or stuff like that. Like Dragapult does play quite a bit of item. Most things do play 15 item cards, so you do have a good sort of shot. But people are playing more tool cards like Team Evolution, not relying on multiple rare candies. They're going with 2 Team Evolution or 1 rare candy compared to the likes of the 4 rare candies back in the day. So I am, for one, very excited it has returned, but overall a little bit disappointed that it's not as powerful as it once was. It was 40 times potentially, but as it is on a fossil, it's a bit disappointing. And the ability of its evolved one, Garacosta, can't be affected by any Pokemon with special energies. we're in a format again, not dominated by special energy. If it was printed back in Lugia Day, absolutely this will see more play, but as a fossil, it's really difficult. Speaking of a fossil, we have Archeops, and it has another one of these callbacks to the primal sort of thing, back when it couldn't play any evolving Pokemon. Primal Wings has the ability. Once your turn, if it's in the action spot, you may choose one of your opponent's evolved Pokemon, de-evolve it, put the highest stage of that into your opponent's land. Now, obviously, your two switching cards, very, very powerful. Even with Destiny Drive, just playing this twice, there's two of de-evolving two of your opponent's Pokemon is really, really strong. Especially team up with de-evolution as well. You can evolve nearly their entire sort of board state, which is really, really scary. Just imagine you're against a Dragapult player. Hypothetically seen this one. Get out an Archeops play with the Primal Wings, and then you can switch into like some Regenesis with a team of Devolution and de-evolve them again. So now they can't wreck Candy into a Dragapult as well. So we can just go have just a whole board of Dreepies or Dracloaks and not really evolving or getting any sort of big sort of damage output. There's not going to see having some success, but again, it is a fossil Pokemon. I'm unsure if Rare Candy does work. I don't think it does, or it does. It's been such a long time since we've seen a competitive stage 2, and when we did see competitive stage 2 fossils, we had very good sort of broken sort of stadium cards that lets us get out our fossil Pokemon. So that's also having the likes of Archies and Maxi. So another way to actually get fossil Pokemon out. But overall, some interesting sort of new sort of Pokemon card. And we just see some new trainers. We have the Energy Coin, Flip 2 Coin, both from a head, search deck for one basic energy attached to one of your Pokemon, shuffle your deck afterwards. Not too bad, but guaranteeing 2 heads, that's 25% chance. A little bit weak. We see the return of Tool Scrapper for the third or fourth time. Discard up to 2 Pokemon tool cards attached to Pokemon, both yours and your opponents, and discard them. Obviously, this is very powerful in a format which has a lot of good tools right now. Only Jamming Tower is the only way how we can interact with tool cards. So having Tool Scrapper, I'm kind of in defense of this one. Yes, I'm really excited we finally have some tool removal. So getting rid of like the likes of Bravery Charm or any of these powerful aspects as well, like Hero's Cape or Crystal is powerful enough. Having us an item card is definitely going to see a lot more play. People will be a lot more defensive about how they are playing their tool cards, not just slapping something on hoping for the best. They definitely need to be a bit more worried now that Tool Scrapper can be removed. And Brave Bangle is a return of Silver Bangle. Pokemon that attach to this one only can be attached to Pokemon without a rule box and not 30 more damage to opponent's active Pokemon EX. This is another way to guarantee do 30 more damage if you're an Ethan Typhlosion deck, which obviously I absolutely love right now. So I think this is pretty powerful overall. Kind of like not really relying on being behind in prices for non-rule box sets. Basically, I'm only saying Leafy Erosion and Gardevoir because they're the only ones that actually rely on actually doing non-rule box or attackers. So I do think this is pretty strong overall. It's a really good sort of way to buff up these single prizes. And finally, we're looking at some new supporter cards. We've got the Finale, which I believe got leaked a few weeks ago. Heal 30 damage from each of your Pokemon. Like Picnic Basket, but only to your side, healing 40. This can be pretty powerful overall, but again, not too strong right now with the healing factor. We saw End Plot. Feel really hyped. We could see another End sort of card here, but it's not really that powerful. Move 2 energies from your bench Pokemon. Move 2 energies from your bench Pokemon to your active. This feels very much like a TCG Pocket sort of supporter card, but I'm unsure how it could see it that much play. And Clown is quite interesting. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck, and then flip a coin. If heads, that player draws 5 cards. If tails, that player draws 3 cards. So effectively just that. Oh, sorry, you flip a coin. If heads, you draw 5 cards, your opponent draws 3 cards. And if tails, you draw 3 cards, your opponent draws 5 cards. So basically a similar sort of thing here. It's fine, sort of supportive, but not exactly the disruption. Overall, I think this is a very powerful set, but definitely a little bit more disheartening to see some cards. Well, unfortunately, there's no Trash Large or no Garbotox and Garbodor. It was just a very, very bog standard Garbodor. So that was the one disappointing thing. But I think we're in a format now where we're not seeing any sort of new archetypes kind of go around here. There are some very, very strong cards. I think this is a really interesting set going to be released when we get Worlds. And we actually get to see it in action next week when it's released over in Japan. So that's something I'm really, really excited about covering next week. But now we've looked at a lot of the new black and white set, and I know it's a little bit longer, but now let's actually look at the creativity choices, as well as also looking at how the gym challenge battles have actually affected over in Japan. So obviously we know about City Leagues have finished to the close. They went to the close at the start of last month, at the start of May. So now we're going to gym challenges, which are effectively basically league challenges. But it's actually helpful enough. We get to see some of the metagame, and some of it is pretty powerful. Yes, it is still in the best of 1, but we can see here that the top decks are still the likes of Raging Bull, Dragapult, and Marnie's Grimmsnarl. One of the likes of Gardevoir being up at the top here because of the likes of Marnie's Grimmsnarl and Charizard. Gardevoir is really slipping down just a little bit. If we were in a format with very heavy on the Darkness Pokemon, like Marnie's Grimmsnarl, like Charizard, that's going to be a whole huge sort of target right now on Gardevoir's back. It's not really going to be seen as much play. Now, another thing we also need to mention in this format, they do have that Psyduck, and it is still TBC about when we are releasing this one. The one that stops the likes of Dusknoir. Also stops Fortress, but mainly likes of Dusknoir. So in decks right now, people aren't playing Dusknoir as much, or people aren't really taking in Psyduck. We saw in the end of Destined Rivals, people obviously were playing this one. It was in one of the winning lists over in Japan. So we did see it had some sort of success. That's why Charizard's doing so well right now. But I think in our sort of Destined Rivals format, we can see definitely the decrease in character number and more of the increase in Dragapult Decimal build as the strongest way to play this one. Now we do see some fun sort of other rogue decks kind of like pop around in this one. Think of the likes of the Blaziken deck, the one that lets you have end acceleration and use the baby Blaziken as well, so additional more damage and doing a flat or bench sniping as well, which is really, really strong, especially as a sort of single prize or a base sort of archetype. Reminds me a lot of like the 2004 sort of Blaziken decks back then for the first World Championships, where it was a Blaziken, which I ended up doing very, very well. So I think looking if you're like testing for NEIC or testing to see exactly what's best in Destined Rivals, this is a great sort of synthesize about what is the best sort of ones. I think the top decks are the likes of Raging Bolt, Dragapult, and my Grimmsnarl. I didn't include Raging Bolt in my sort of one because I don't really like the deck as much, but I do respect it being a very, very strong contender. It is very powerful, but this is a best of one format, which the deck definitely thrives a lot better in this one. Some interesting decks, obviously, which are still doing well, are likes of the Mewtwo, as well as also Aether's Typhlosion. These are the only other sort of owners Pokemon outside of Marnie's one, which is doing really, really well. So now we've kind of looked at what the metagame is, kind of explain a little bit why it's doing so well. Let's actually look at some of the creative decks that have actually done well in Japan. And to start off, I want to look at this Rocket's Zapdos. And this, I think, is a really interesting way to approach the likes of these Frothas Monkey decks, which have been doing really, really well. For those who don't know what the likes of Zapdos does, just 30 damage and you get to move an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench, and does 60 damage plus 60 more damage if it has a Rocket's energy attached to this one. So you're obviously going to attach Rocket's energy plus that likes of that lightning energy, you're doing 120 damage for 3 energies. That doesn't seem very strong, but team up with the likes of Frostlass and Monkidori. Putting those damage counters, you're slowly chipping away, have the Mercury to move around this one. All of a sudden, that 120 can turn into over 200 damage. You're one-shotting everything nearly turn after turn after turn. Or you could trap something in the actual spot by having that Gravity Mountain, that sort of Gravity Zone. Yes, you'll find having the Zapdos in this one. We can move around their energy with having the fan as well. So we attack into you, move around some energies. You already move around energy to the attack. So you can effectively just trap lots of stuff in the actual spot. We'll just load up a Badoo with a ton of energies and it's not really going to go anywhere. So I do like that sort of strategy this deck really has to offer. We do have that Team Devolution as well, so that's a Devo play. You are a Frostlass Monkidori deck, so you always want to spray around some damage counters. So I love this creative choice as well. And the Sneeze as well, which has more damage. You have damage counters on one of your Rocket's Pokemon, and you deal damage to that one. I believe that's what it does. I always forget what it is, and it's been a while since I've actually looked at some of these new cards. So overall, it's a very unique style deck. I wouldn't say it's the most like out of the box has got to do well right now. It's a secret tech for NEIC. But if you're testing for like a local, we obviously have June off. So definitely try this one out because I think this one is really, really interesting. Next one is Rocket's Crobat. And I love Team Rocket's Crobat. I think it's one of the best sort of cards right now. It's a new one. I love the Crobat line. I've always loved it pretty much all the way from the Team Rocket's very base set with the Golbat. And then obviously now with the Crobat from the Plasma sort of era. Phantom Force Zero, yeah, that was one. Played it in the Minetric, played it in Crobat, played it in Evolve. So many different versions of this one. So this is the one here that's got me the most excited for this one. The reason I'm going with more of this one Crobat deck, because you're not really attacking with Mewtwo, and I think this might be probably the best way to play this one. Spidops is great because it has actually a relevant sort of attacking for weakness. Charizard, Grimmsnarl, Enderock, all of them are weak to grass, so kind of having that Spidops is great, getting easy doing over that huge amount of damage one hit kill this one. I obviously have that charge up ability to energy accelerate to this one. Crobat is great to do damage counters on any of your opponent's Pokemon whenever you evolve in this one. You can easily kind of like spread around this one. You have energy switch to move around some energies. So it's also the this first its attack to actually bounce it back into the hand, which is pretty good. So you can like load up a load more guys as well. And Mewtwo is a good sort of finisher, like big sort of attacker in the game. I think this is a very interesting way for a creative. We see it do some success at the City Leagues, and we've seen lots of people play this sort of version online. I, for one, love Crobat. I'm trying to tease it. I'm trying to like see which is the best partner right now. If it's going to be the Rocket's engine for Crobat, or if it's going to be your Dragapult. I'm doing the fence about which one is the best way to partner this one. But seen after this one here doing pretty well, and I've seen it quite a few pop up in these City Leagues and gym challenges. I definitely am, for one, really thinking this could be the great way around this one. Blaziken, I mentioned it before, I think a few weeks ago, as well as also now today. It's having a lot of success right now in Japan. So I think this is definitely a good contender to have on this one. Now, obviously, you do have that Blaziken EX's amazing ability. Once your turn, attach an energy from a discard pile to one of your Pokemon. It can be in the active, it can be on the bench. That's one of the greatest things. It doesn't specify where it is, which makes it really powerful. And obviously, you do 200 damage. And obviously, the caveat is, I believe you discard energy or it can't attack. So you just switch around your Blazikens. 200 damage is still great as well. You're two-shotting pretty much everything in the format. With having that Defiance bound, you can hit that 230. That KOs the very relevant sort of Ogerpon. Well, you already KO Ogerpon, don't know, but like the Pheasantipity, so the low HP sort of second Pokemon. But you do have the other Blaziken as well, which is 120 damage. I believe it's the Scarlet Energy to this one, with an additional 120 more damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, which is still very, very powerful, I think. And obviously, we get this one in our Destined Rivals format. So I really love this one as well. Having the Pidgeot as well is a great way to actually get your setup, as well as also Cleffa. This deck here, I feel like exactly like Charizard, you want to be attacking turn 2. You don't really want to go for the slow setup with Badoom. You want to put the Cleffa, you want to draw in his plans. You do have access to Badoom if you want to be that destructive way. But having the Pidgeot, having the Cleffa, you want to be set up attacking as early as your second turn. And this is a great sort of synergy with this one. Do you have Monkey Dory having 2 of them as well? You can easily accelerate to energies in this one from having Blaziken's attack. You have Earthen Vessel, you have Secret Box, you have Research, multiple ways to get some discarding effect here, or generally just retreating overall. I love this deck. I think it's a very much a under the radar sort of pick, even right now in this format, with a good sort of rogue deck. Definitely kind of misses one in my rogue archetypes, but overall, if you really want to be testing out something fun and interesting in Destined Rivals, this is a great creative choice. Everyone is slacking. This card has had a lot of sort of love right now. Obviously, we've seen it do well in Expanded. So it's had lots of people talk about it because of that Team Rocket's Watchtower. It actually shuts off its own ability, which is really powerful. And if you look at this whole deck, you're like, there's there's Farfetch'd, there's Fan Rotom, there's Pidgeot. We're a colorless Pokemon with loads of abilities. Why on earth are we playing the Team Rocket's Watchtower? Well, it's so we can actually attack into things. So we think of our decks like Ethan's Typhlosion, one of the potentially going to be a very good medical right now for NEIC. Unless you're playing Mysore build, no one's really, everyone's going for this Dunsparce build. They're not playing any EXs at all. So you want to kind of go around ability and not going with us. So actually having the 280 damage constantly from attacking into anything with having the Team Rocket's Watchtower, I think is really, really powerful. Maxim Belts, you can obviously hit 330k of like some Charizard. Power Hourglass, and you get discarded, and you get chucked straight back on. I really like this deck. I think it's really unique and interesting. Having Crispin as long as with the Farigiraf, you have another sort of walling sort of engine. Yeah, I really, really like Slacking right now. I think it's a great creative choice, a really good under the radar meta sort of pick in this new sort of format. We could definitely see this kind of like pop up a lot into sort of your City Leagues when they return in September time, but most importantly, like some League Cups and League Challenges over in July. Now we can see some other sort of current sort of decks which have seen quite success. Is that Hopsian? I did mention a little bit before, and I do really, really like this one. I did a short about it a couple of weeks ago. He went with that Team Rockets bomb. It's a surprise bomb. Obviously, it's great just to do additional more damage. If you damage yourself or damage one of your opponent's Pokemon, you have Monkey Dory, it doesn't really matter. But what I love about this one, it does play the Iron Valiant. More ways to put some damage pings. So all of a sudden, this can actually deal a huge amount of damage. It can do two-shotting. It can actually do that bench sniping, which it always wanted. I love the 30-30 anyway. Obviously, with having a Post Spell and also that lot, new energies, Snorlax plus Post Wick, you're doing 120 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, but you're only doing 30 to the bench. So having a surprise bomb with Monkey Dory, having the Iron Valiant, all of a sudden you can now get these two hit snipes, so effectively doing that 90-90 potentially, which is really, really powerful in this style of deck. So I really like what the synergy has for creativity choices. Could this be the best way to play Hopsian? I think so. So that's something which is making me really, really excited about. I have still some more experimentation with that Hopsian. Another one is Cynthia's Garchomp, and one of the most interesting things about this deck here is that Sandy Shock's EX. Now, obviously, it can only be done if your opponent has 4 or fewer prize cards. You can use his ability, attach an energy from your discard pile into and pop it on the Sandy Shocks. You have any switch, you can move it into access box. Now, the only thing I don't like about this deck, you don't have that guaranteed one-hit KO potential. Sometimes with Cynthia's, you don't need this one. They're doing 260 damage turn after turn after turn after again, or you're doing 100 followed by that 160, you're basically in that 2-shot range anyway. You can draw the huge amount of hand, or if you take up absorb a huge amount of attack with having that Cynthia's power weight, you can attack in the likes of the Cynthia's and Spiritomb as your main sort of other attacking option, or Blood Moon or Luna in the late style game. I really like this deck. I think it's quite unique as a way for having that creative choices. Obviously, did see it do well. It did get that win at that gym challenges. So having Sign Shocks, could this be the secret weapon and not the likes what I've been playing with, that Blaziken, which I really, really like. Now, obviously, Joltoid Box, and not really too much has really changed about this one, but you can play likes of the Petrol. Um, you're just searching there for any sort of trainer card. And I think for a deck like Jolteon Box, this is great. You're already a very heavy Arven deck, and if you're in the late sort of game and you use all your Arven, you can get a Spectral. I think the Gravity Mountain is the perfect sort of CM card right now. I think it's all hit it right on the money with this one. And make sure the Pikachus can actually hit that 300 damage on that Charizard, that they reduce their HP down to 300, which is really, really powerful. And you don't need to kind of overexert yourself by trying to find out the right sort of missing pieces. So I really like having this one. And obviously, that's a great search to get into this one. So yeah, Jolteon Box doesn't really gain too much, but that Petrol could really give a huge punch for this deck. Gardevoir as well. Doesn't really feel like this build here looks too different, but it does play 2 copies of that Team Rocket's Watchtower. The more I think about it, the more I think this is actually really good. It makes Gardevoir a lot more of a defensive style deck. One thing that Gardevoir can really struggle with is something like the Terror Box or decks which can really kind of put on that pressure very, very early on. It's kind of like having that way to shut off their Noctowns, their Pidgeots, or any sort of very, very scary, or even like Bouffalons as well. I think it's a very, very good sort of strategy what Gardevoir can have to offer. I think we're going to see this card pick in a lot of decks as well, especially like decks like Dragapult. Dragapult only really needs for new cards that Team Rocket's Watchtower and Shaman, and it instantly becomes a much stronger archetype. And finally, I just want to end up on this fun creative choice. For those who don't know, Togekiss is my favorite deck, and to see this actually one was really, really interesting. I have tried the style deck before, so it's really nice to see it kind of like work out. Playing a very, very thick 2-1-2 line, 2-1-2, 3-1-2 line of Togekiss is great. And having a split between 2 of them is perfect. One that gives you additional prizes, and one that basically draws until you have 8 cards in the end of a hand. I tried this in a Gardevoir deck, and it was absolutely terrible, but I really like how we see some Togekiss of love here. I think it's a great sort of strategy for Dragapult. If I had my cards with me up in Scotland, I would definitely be stealing this up and going to my local because I really, really love this deck. I think it's very fun. I think it's unique and definitely the best sort of way about why I do this series. It's these fun, unique, creative choices that people really get rewarded in this one, especially in this brand new format. So overall, we'll just continue into our format because now we've got Destined Rivals. We can test it over online. We can go in our locals right now and get ready for NEIC in just a few weekends' time. But overall, I think the popular decks are definitely more set in stone. I think they're a much stronger one. The likes of Marnie's Grimmsnarl, Dragapult, Gardevoir, all of these decks are at the top because they are so powerful and so strong. So I don't really see any of these fun creative decks really kind of like sleeping into them too much. And will Black and White set really make an impact? This is our world set in Japan getting next week. So we're going to look next week. We're actually looking to see how the format is getting ready in this sort of new format as you gear up to the Japan Championship in just a few weekends' time. So that's actually quite exciting. So without further ado, we're going to wrap up this video. Again, hope this audio sounds quite good. This is going to be my new setup for the next few sort of weeks while I'm up here in Scotland, next few months while I'm up here in Scotland. And obviously, I'll do as many videos as I can leading up to this one. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below, what is your favorite new card from the Black and White set? Or is there any cards that you thought was a little bit of a miss? Me personally, I'm very excited for Meloetta EX and Bouffalon. I think these cards have some great sort of synergy recently. So, my name is TCG, and I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.